If you've had to buy a car in the last 5 years, you know that prices have been going up, 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 and away. Thanks for tuning in, and in today's video, we're going to be covering some of the early signs of the car market bubble finally bursting, and hopefully it continues and we get a major correction and finally prices become more affordable again.
All right, yo, we're at the auction. I'm going to show you how bad repos are getting and how new these vehicles are that are getting repossessed by the banks and being sold at the auction. Look at this. All these are repos, all brand new cars. You got Chargers, Scat Packs, Mercedes, Genesis, Range Rovers, Range Rover, trucks, Teslas. Man, they should have repoed this. This ain't no Scat Pack. Look at that. Savini's wheel with the, it's a regular Charger, man. And guys, these aren't, you know, 2010, 2012. These are 2019, 2020s and up that are getting repoed. People are barely had these cars for a year, maybe less, maybe more, and the banks are picking them up and selling them at the auctions for a fraction of what they bought it for. Show you how cooked the car market is with all these high interest loans, people bailing out of their auto loans because they can't even afford it. Here we have a 2019 Range Rover. Oh, this is beautiful. I'm sure whoever bought this probably paid an arm and a leg, and it's gonna go for a fraction of the cost of the auction. And during COVID, and even till today, people are getting approved for these crazy loans on these cars, paying $1,200, $1,500 a month. Insurance is $300, $400, maybe $500 a month for them. So they're paying more than half their income on just an automobile. That doesn't include anything else, any maintenance or anything. It's crazy. Car market is getting stagnant, inventory is going up, and the reason is people just don't know how to educate themselves, budget correctly, and dealers are taking advantage of that and marking up these cars at such an alarming rate, and banks are approving these loans. We're probably going to start seeing the cars that Steve-O got me rolling sold to those people start popping up at the auction soon. So, but seriously, if you don't want to end up trying to pay the difference on a vehicle that you bought at such a high price with a high interest rate, take your time to educate yourself and make sure you budget correctly. And as far as the car market goes, we're in trouble because all of these are repos.
You know, he's absolutely correct that education is the #1 thing you can do to better equip yourself to get into a good car situation. If you're not an educated car buyer, you can easily make the wrong decision that's going to ruin you financially. You know, can you imagine having your car payment, car insurance, gasoline, the maintenance come up to almost 50% of your pay? That's ridiculous. There's no way you can do anything, you know, with housing, you know, saving, investing. If you're spending 50% of your income in transportation, you have no other financial life going on besides your car. And that's a ridiculous place to be. What you should be targeting for your all-in transportation should be between like 7 to 10% of your take-home pay. So if you make $5,000 a month take-home, you should have transportation expenses of no more than like $500 a month. And that's on the upper end, guys. So yeah, 7 to 10% of your take-home pay, all-in transportation is a good place to be. Anything above that, and you are going to hurt financially to be able to prioritize any other goals, whether it be to save up for a house, to save for an emergency fund, or really to do anything, much less invest for your future retirement. So repossessions being on the rise is a great indicator that we are at the tippity top of the auto market and we are likely to see a crash. What I'm seeing when I look at that is similar to like the 2007 real estate market where banks were giving out crazy loans to people that couldn't afford houses. We're seeing the same thing in the auto market right now. Banks are desperate to give out loans and they're approving $1,200, $1,500 car payments when people bring home like $3,000, $4,000 a month. This is not sustainable in any way, and it will come collapsing down on us. It's just a matter of time. Repossessions being at an all-time high and repo lots being completely full. Guys, if you're seeing that, which we are today, you should be afraid of what's coming next in the car market and likely broader in our economy. So one of the things that I've been thinking about lately is economic recessions are kind of like lightning. And you know how they say lightning never strikes in the same place twice? Well, recessions usually never repeat prior recessions. The last Great Recession was caused by the real estate market. Other prior recessions were caused by banking and the savings and loan crisis. I think it's a very good chance that the next recession that the US economy goes through is going to be caused by the car market. So the car market has been in a major bubble the last 5 years. You know, the COVID crisis caused a chip shortage, and the chip shortage allowed dealerships and car manufacturers to really go crazy with their pricing, and they, were able to jack up the prices and charge over MSRP, and dealer add-ons became even more prevalent after COVID, to where you couldn't even buy a car unless it had 5 different dealer ads, and those were not even negotiable to take off. So it's like the dealerships and the car manufacturers really, they changed big time in the COVID era, and they are reluctant to change back. Ever since then, prices were sky high, and you guys can see it, you can feel it. Like, look back 5 years ago, the average car price is up over 30%. The average car payment's almost $800 a month. Interest rates being high, car prices not going down. It's no wonder that repossessions are skyrocketing. Be afraid of what's to come next if the car market does not start gently correcting. If we, fall off a cliff, it could be real bad. Let's get into some of the comments. And dealers deserve this. Good, the dealerships deserve this. They've been doing this since the GPU shortages of COVID, and they never stopped. I'm supposed to feel bad that they're not selling their cars from 2 to 5 years ago because they overpriced their stock. They better get ready to lower them boys by 30 to 50K, because they won't sell in the coming market bubble pop. Agreed. It's all comes down to price. Like real estate, it's location and price. In the car market, it's all about price. People can afford their overpriced cars, and people understood the way the dealerships scam money. Dealerships and their sales tactics and their overpriced, dealer options and add-ons, people have wised up. They're not, going to take it. The consumer has become savvier when shopping around. Online shopping has helped the consumer a little bit negotiate prices down, but the average consumer has zero sympathies for car dealers. Because of the chip shortage, they took advantage, and now they're suffering from the consequences of customers being upside down. And they can kick rocks, and it's exactly what they deserve for being greedy. I leased my 19 and purchased it at the end through a credit union. With the mileage I put on it, I won't need another car for 7 to 10 years. That's great. What's that? Their own problem. They did it to themselves. Zero sympathies for car dealers. If you're enjoying the video so far, would you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, hit like, and leave a comment below and what you think we're going to start seeing next.
All that much, and they're literally saying we're fine selling less cars. We would rather keep our margins up than sell more cars, because it actually works out for them on their bottom line better in the long run. And I actually don't think that they're going to be able to succeed in this, because the demand is so low and there's just not enough money out there. I think they're going to actually have to lower their prices, probably dramatically, just because I don't think they're going to be able to sell any cars if they keep their prices where they are. Making $2,200 a car, I think, is still fine, but they're going to have to figure out how to pay less for cars, and the stuff that they're stuck in right now, and they are stuck in stuff, they have to be, because stuff that they bought 6 months ago, 3 months ago, it's too expensive right now. So I think they are going to have to cut loose of some of that stuff, take some losses, and really, honestly, in my opinion, I think it's better to cut some of your prices and give your customer a better deal than it is to keep your margins a lot of times. I know the shareholders want to keep margin or whatever, but if you're able to give your customer a good deal, even on that level of company, you're going to make a customer for life. And that's something I think that CarMax could really capitalize on right now, is if they are one of the leaders to be able to say, okay, you know what, our prices are too high, let's cut them, let's make some sales, we're going to take some losses, but let's get some of this stale inventory that we got way too much in, let's go ahead and get it rolling out. And I think that would really be better for the company. But like I said, they have to know better than me. And if they run these pricing models or whatever, but we're in a time period that we've never been in before. The demand is really low and the prices are still way high. So they're going to have to do something. They think keeping their prices higher for longer is going to be better for their company. We'll just have to see how it works out. I think that they should go ahead and start lowering their prices now. But the good thing about it, with them being a publicly traded company, we'll be able to see what happens in the next few quarters. I really think in a quarter or two, they're going to have to come back and basically redo this whole speech of what they did and say, you know what, we did have to lower prices because the demand just dried up so much.
This guy is so right. CarMax is a great example of where the car market is heading, and you can tell it so easily that they're so afraid that what it's going to take is to lower prices, but they are hesitant. Why? Because they're a publicly traded company and they're being judged on their profits and their net income and their average selling price of the used cars. But they can tell what's coming next, and all of consumers can feel what's coming next. And it's a sign as clear as day that for the cars they've bought 3 to 6 months ago, they're overpriced now. And they know it, we know it. Nobody's buying those junk used cars that are overpriced. People want safe, reliable, affordable cars again. And the car market, especially the used market, is not going to start moving again until the price is correct. If CarMax really wanted to be a leader in the used car market, they should get out in front of the market. They should be first movers to lower their prices. If they were to actually do that, consumers would flock to them so fast and they would be so grateful. They would earn literally customers for life. But no, they are going to hold fast, be stubborn, and they are not going to budge on their prices until the economy literally forces them to do so. You know, when he mentioned that CarMax is just in the used car game, right? So an average profit of $2,500 per car doesn't even seem that unreasonable to me. So where is actually the problem? You know, if they're selling average used cars for $25,000 and they're making a $2,500 profit per car, that's only a 10% gross profit margin. That's not even that unreasonable. That's actually pretty low. So the problem actually 100% resides in what CarMax is paying for the used cars that they're purchasing. They are paying over market, and for the cars that they have sitting on their lot, they may actually need to take a loss on those cars to move them out. The car market has been correcting pretty aggressively over the last 6 months. Prices are down in some areas almost 10%. So in order to get the cars they have sitting on these lots for, a year plus, they need to slash the prices, get them moved, and then going forward, they need to be more strategic about what cars they're buying and how much they're buying them for, because they need to get them at a better price so they can then turn them around and sell them for a better price to their consumers. That is what it's going to take. It's not going to get any better until CarMax starts running their used car business a little more strategically.
Car dealerships right now have vehicles that have been sitting on their lot for over 700 days. It's a huge issue in the car market. This new old stock, it just goes to show how bad the car market's doing. New car sales are still not hitting record highs. Even though we have more people driving on the roads, the United States sold more cars in 2016 than they did this year. But guess what? Dealerships just made a bunch of money over the last few years, and they even sold less cars. Some of the lowest volume years were just a few years ago, but every single vehicle they sold, they made a ton of money on. From market adjustments to add-ons to even selling the vehicle at MSRP. Every manufacturer took away all rebates, and most dealerships weren't even giving discounts. And I love it because the whole market has shifted. Now that stuff's over with, even though of course there's some dealers out there trying to do market adjustments, even though their lot's completely full and there's 15 other dealerships not doing that. But we have such an issue because people want to get a new car before they even pay off their next car. This is how the market works in the United States. This is how they're able to keep it going. It's all on payments. Banks control the whole whole car market. But guess what? People are not making the payments on their car. Repo rates are worse than they were in 2009. It's literally like that all over again, but this time for cars. The amount of people that took out way too many loans, way too much money just a few years ago, and this 84-month loan thing has just become super common. It's getting more common every day, and soon to be 96-month payments are on the way. So they bought the car 2 years ago, they paid a market adjustment, they paid over MSRP.
84-month auto loans are insanity. You will never likely pay that car off. You will probably trade it in well before you pay it off, and you'll probably be underwater on that auto loan, and then you'll just roll your negative equity into the next car. Yeah, we are in trouble in the US economy, especially in the car market. It is on the verge of collapse. Repossessions, the highest they've been since 2007. 84-month car loans. Banks are literally ruling the, car market economy. People couldn't afford to buy a car unless the bank is giving them a ginormous loan that they don't really qualify for. Nobody can afford to pay cash for their cars. People are definitely overstretching their budget to afford these car payments. And eventually we are going to see a collapse in this market. Is the car market bad, or people just living beyond their means? It's definitely both. The car market is weak. It's slow. Prices are falling. And that means that inventory sitting on lots is overvalued, and the dealers do not want to adjust the prices to accurately reflect the market price of their cars, so cars are not selling. However, people are definitely overstretching their budget. They are desperate. They are cash poor. And the banks are, up to this point, still very willing to overextend people's credit, give them loans they cannot afford, and allow them to live well beyond their means. Maybe the car market needs a reset. Yeah, no kidding. This has gotten way out of hand. A Tahoe shouldn't be $90,000. Insanity. Car notes and rates are higher than ever. Average car note is about $700 a month for a 5-year car note. The average car note is $750 a month, and most people are taking out, in excess of 5-year loans. Don't blame it on the loan interest. It's the car prices too. For sure it is. It's both. It's the car prices at insane interest rates. It's not always the budget. Life happens. Jobs aren't locked in at 40 hours. No, they are not. And, it's really tough out there, especially with, hourly workers. Employers are trying to save face, and some employers, instead of making layoffs, are just cutting your hours. So while you're technically still employed, you're not getting the hours you're accustomed to. And that means that you've essentially taken a big pay cut. Plus, people are losing jobs, getting divorced, getting sick, and can't work. Everyone isn't making bad financial decisions. Life just happens. Of course, I realize that not everyone is making inherently bad financial choices. Life is coming at them. They're getting laid off. They can't find work. They're getting their hours cut. They had an unexpected, medical surprise come up, and now they have this massive pile of medical debt. Life is always going to happen, but it is, again, a fair amount of personal accountability. What are you going to do when life comes at you with these surprises? How are you going to adjust? And, are you going to overextend yourself when times are good so that, what if life becomes not so good? Then you're going to just be up a creek and you won't be able to, afford any of your bills anymore, all because you overextended in the good times. Same thing is going to happen with the housing market. Houses, cars, and everything else is way overpriced. Yet wages have stayed the same. Make it make sense. I can't. I don't think anybody can. Inflation is a major issue today. People who say don't live above your means are maybe removed from the reality to realize inflation and rates are so bad, just the basics are becoming above the means. Life is a facade. Everybody trying to keep up with everybody. Got to do better. One of my top suggestions, if you want to change your financial life and the financial life of your family, is stop caring what other people think. Stop looking at what other people are doing. Focus on you, focus on your family, focus on your needs. The government ruined our economy, and here we are with no one can afford even food. Maybe tough to say no one. So when the car market crashes, it needs to be totaled. Dealers are still trying to sell cars above KBB. We need some cheap used cars, cash cars. The guy that made the CarMax video is actually a used car dealer. He sells all of his cars for under $5,000. So they do exist. I've seen plenty of car dealers on TikTok that specialize in used cash cars. They're out there. If you want to find them, you can find them, but you better do your research. You better buy brand first, buy smart, don't buy for looks, don't buy for the cosmetics, buy for the mechanical, buy for the reliability, and buy for what you need. This car market is finally starting to burst the bubble, and we should be starting to see prices come down pretty substantially. I know I hope so. I know you hope so. I think it's just a matter of time. I'll see you in the next video.